I had to list the 5 worst things about being an attorney, I would probably have to say number 5 is dealing with difficult clients. What does that mean? That means clients that have unrealistic expectations about the outcome of their case. I can give you an example. If someone comes in here and they work and they make, 4 times what their spouse makes, no prenup, and their spouse isn't working, and they come in and they're like, I don't want to pay any spousal support, that might be an unrealistic expectation. Or if someone comes in here and tells me, I want to have sole custody of my child, I don't want the other parent to even get birthdays or holidays or ever see the child ever again. Outside of some situations where maybe we're dealing with abuse or unsafe conditions for a child, that might not be a very realistic expectation. So I think it's very important to identify clients that have unrealistic expectations and that are unwilling to change those expectations. Normally, if I see those red flags in a consultation, I won't take the case, because those are going to be the clients that no matter what you do, they're not going to be happy with what you give them. I think that was number 5. So number 4 would probably have to be dealing with difficult opposing counsel. An opposing counsel is essentially the other person's attorney, the other party's attorney that you're going against. And when I say difficult, I don't mean a good attorney, because I have very good professional relationships with excellent attorneys where we get on cases and we're both zealously advocating for each of our clients. We're giving it our all. We're putting up a challenge for each other. No, that's the practice of law. That's what you want. You want a worthy opponent. You want someone that's going to come to court, come to trial prepared and challenge you. That's the only way we grow as attorneys. I love that. What I don't like are attorneys that ghost you, that don't answer emails, that don't answer phone calls, that basically only ever talk to you at a hearing and then they disappear, who say they're going to send you discovery, which is evidence or, documents that you requested from the other party, and never send it. Attorneys who say they're going to call you back and they go 3 months without calling you back. That's not a good thing. For those people in law school, for younger attorneys, don't be that person. No one wants to deal with you. No one's going to work with you. You're going to burn bridges very quickly. Another thing are screamers. Normally, I find that the louder an attorney screams, the less prepared they are. Because if you're going to trial and you got your case together and you're ready to go, why do you have to scream? Why do you have to disrespect the other attorney? There's no need for that. It's a job for both of us. Let's try to keep some level of professionalism, some level of respect to one another. I can do my job without screaming at you, without getting personal. So that's not a good look. Don't be that lawyer. I think also just attorneys that don't know what they're doing. I think that, none of us are 100% sure of everything we do. None of us know everything. I know some attorneys that have been practicing 40, 50 years, and even they sometimes have questions. There's nothing wrong with having questions and growing and learning. There's a lot of things that I don't know, but it's a whole nother thing coming to court, not understanding the local rules, not understanding the rules of civil procedure, not really knowing what forms you're supposed to fill out. You're doing your client a disservice. So if you're going to take a case, you have to make sure you're competent and you know what you're doing. I think that probably another thing that's really difficult in practice is managing stress. I would say that's number 3 on my list. As an attorney, especially a litigator, you are constantly in stress. And I don't mean like oh, I'm so stressed out, but I'm going to finish this case and then I'll be okay. No, you're pretty much in stress every single day. And I think that's why a lot of attorneys get burnt out in this profession, because you're constantly go, 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 and they don't have tools in place to help them navigate through that stress. And then they get burnt out, or they turn to substance abuse, or they simply give up and just go in another direction. For me, for example, it took me a couple years to really understand what work-life balance is. I think as being a self-employed attorney or running your own firm, it's really hard to draw a line and say, I'm going to work these hours and then I'm going to take these hours to myself, because you feel like you constantly have to be working because you constantly have to produce. And you're scared like, okay, well, if I don't answer calls on the weekend, I'm not going to get business, or that's business that's going to go away. At a certain point, you have to prioritize your mental health, the stability and health of your family over your practice. And it took me a couple years. I mean, I was really young. I was 23 when I, graduated from law school. That's really young. It took me a while to understand that balance was important. So I would say, make sure you eat right. Make sure that I work out. That's therapeutic for me. That helps me relieve stress. Make sure that you have a support system, your spouse, family members, friends, your pet, your dog, your cat, whatever it may be. Make sure you're doing things that make you happy and you're taking time, for yourself. I have cases where I have lawyers calling me at 8 o'clock on a Friday. Unless it's an emergency situation, you shouldn't be calling me at 8 o'clock on a Friday. You shouldn't even be, go do you and try to find ways to make yourself happy. Number 2 on the list is probably going to be selling yourself. And this is going to be a very controversial statement, because I find that a lot of attorneys don't want to admit that we have to sell our services. And at the end of the day, we're salesmen or saleswomen. That's what we do. When a client comes in to have a consultation with me, I have to sell them on my services. I have to tell them why they should hire me. Because at the end of the day, if I'm not selling services, I'm not getting clients. I'm not running a business. I'm not, able to pay my employees. So you have to learn how to sell yourself. You have to empathize with people. You have to be very clear about money. You have to have those awkward conversations. This is what this is going to cost you. This is our hourly rate. This is how much you have to bring up front. If you don't have those conversations in the beginning and make sure that you have a clear-cut understanding with your clients, that can bring issues later on. And then the number one worst thing about being an attorney is billing. Billing is a headache. And I think that any attorney who manages a firm can tell you that billing is a nightmare. And again, another thing that law school really doesn't prepare you to deal with. It's really difficult to have a conversation with a client about money that they owe you, and at the same time be on good terms with them and be able to guide them and give them advice in their case. And that's a very delicate line, because you never want to come off like you're insensitive to their situation, but at the same time, you run a business. You have to pay bills. You have to eat. People don't understand that. That goes again to a statement I mentioned before, where people have this unrealistic expectation that attorneys are rich. We're not rich. Our staff has to get paid before we do. You go to work every day, you clock in, you clock out, you want a paycheck. You don't want your boss to pay you 3 months for work that you did, this week. You need to get paid. And I think that's really where we go back to having a clear conversation with clients in the beginning, having a steady, and a very clear representation agreement with them, doing billing very frequently, every 4 to 6 weeks, just to make sure clients don't get behind. But even then, you have clients that get behind. And that's a reality. I think that's just not only in the legal profession, but that's just a reality of running a business. And a lot of people don't understand, at the end of the day, a firm is a business, and you need to handle billing, and you have to have those difficult conversations with clients.